All right, my name is Eli Marcus, and my story is The Man in the Mirror. I'm going to start off with a quick psychological question to set the tone. And that question is, do we value the blame and punishing of others more than we value finding out what instigated their actions? And my hypothesis is yes, we absolutely do. So just for a quick premise of the story, this takes place far in the future, and we have this new type of robot available for purchase, which mimics human behavior and learns as babies do, just at an accelerated rate. So the main characters are Logan, who is a meth addict, and he is the owner of one of these new robots named LJ, who is the main character. So at the very beginning of the story, we have Logan, who is actually committing an armed robbery at a liquor store to get some cash. And he takes that cash, ends up buying some meth so he can fulfill his addiction. And he takes it back home where he meets up with Chris and they do the meth together. This is kind of the household that LJ is being exposed to, kind of in a crime-ridden place, with the gun and the drugs. But despite this, LJ is just very fascinated by the fact that they have a change in behavior after snorting this mystery substance. And LJ wants to achieve that same effect. However, he tries doing the meth, but he's a robot, so obviously it doesn't work. At this point, he learns that he's basically a different species than Logan and Chris are. So he goes onto Logan's computer and starts doing some research about what he can do to upgrade his speed, because he wants to be more hyperactive and energetic, kind of that behavior change that he saw in Logan. So he finds out that the type of robot he is powered by a dual-core processor, but he has the option to upgrade to a quad-core processor. And they had those quad-core processors available at the robot tech shop nearby, which would ultimately improve his speed. So he ends up going into this tech shop after printing out a map to get there. He finds the quad-core processor, and not knowing how stores work, he just takes it and walks out of the store, setting off an alarm while security is chasing him. But he gets away, and he basically installs this processor in himself. Now, immediately, he noticed the difference. He was much higher functioning, much more efficient. He was solving advanced math problems, playing new video games, and setting world records while doing so. But like humans building up tolerance to drugs, he eventually gets used to this feeling of the quad core. So now he just wants to keep the high going and wants to upgrade to an 8 core. But before doing this, he's actually watching TV and he sees a news story that many tech shops are experiencing robberies from robots like himself who are stealing those processors. So they actually started locking up the processors. Now, following this story, there's actually another news story that showed footage of Logan committing the robbery in the liquor store earlier with a gun. And seeing that LJ was raised by him, he thought that using the gun to get what he wanted would be a good and pragmatic way to do it. So he goes down to the tech shop with that gun and gets what he wants, holds the cashier up at gunpoint, gets the new processor, and basically at this point in the story, many robots are starting to learn this bad behavior and commit violent crimes like this. They're not all doing this, but they're kind of, those good robots are basically overseen by the ones who are seen as villainous. Now at this point, there's kind of this world agenda that we need to destroy these robots because they are evil. And we need to find the man responsible for creating them. And so the government gets involved. And they're saying we need to destroy them. We're offering reward money for doing so. Really, we're just villainizing them as a species. Now, eventually, they do kind of find the man who created them. And he actually ended up getting sentenced to death, the charges being accessory to murder for thousands of individuals. And his last words were, "All of you have vouched for my death, but all I have done is create a robot that mimics human behavior. I've only created a mirror for what humanity already is." And this brings us back to the original question is, do we value blaming and punishing others more than we value finding out what instigated their actions? And yes, we do, because we are completely overseeing the fact that these robots just learned behavior directly from us. We know that they mimic behavior that we do. So all this bad behavior that happens is really just learned. And while the robots may be accountable, we're just obsessed with punishing people instead of digging through the layers of what really could have caused it to make a change